Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, Arsenal correspondent at Goal. Welcome back to the latest one of my videos here on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much as usual for the support you've shown me on here so far. Had lots of new subscribers in the last week, and plenty of you watched my last video, so appreciate that. And thanks for coming back. And like I said, thank you for the support. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you're just stumbling across this channel for the first time, then please do hit the subscribe button down there, and I will try and do the best I can to keep you updated with all things Arsenal as we get closer, touch wood, to the resumption of the Premier League, possibly in just a few weeks' time. So that's where we'll start with this latest video. There's a few things to cover today. My first update, I'll just talk about the news you may well have seen this morning, which is Wednesday morning, that Premier League clubs have now voted unanimously to return to full contact training. Obviously, since last week, clubs have been in small group training at their training grounds in groups of no more than 5, working together, but all no contact, so still with socially distancing guidelines in place. But now, as of today, it was voted unanimously, like I said, that all Premier League clubs will have decided to go back to full contact training as they gear up towards the resumption of the Premier League, possibly in a couple of weeks' time. What that means for Arsenal is that possibly from tomorrow, which is Thursday, that Arsenal could well return to full contact training at London Colney. They're just making sure all protocols are in place to do that at the moment, but it could be as early as tomorrow, 24 hours after the decision at the Premier League meeting, that they will go back to full contact training, and they can go to can now go basically 11 on 11, having an 11 on 11 match after today's vote. So still going to be the same sort of social distancing rules in place away from the training pitch. So this isn't like all the players are going to play together and then they're going to head inside at London Colney or sit down and have lunch together, that sort of thing. They're still going to arrive at the training ground in their own kit. They're going to go straight out to the pitches. There are a few buildings open, but very limited. No group gatherings or anything like that inside. All head out to the pitch, go through the session. They will be able to be in contact, so they will be able to go through set-piece drills from corners, free kicks, all gathering in the box together. Like I said, they will be able to have an 11 on 11 match. But then at the end of the session, it's again going to be sort of go home, get showered at home, get changed at home. So as soon as the session's over, then the social distancing guidelines come back into place. But while training's going on, they will be able to have contact, which is obviously very important as you sort of gear up towards the return of the Premier League. I'm sure you've all been watching the Bundesliga in the last couple of weeks. Probably watched Dortmund versus Bayern Munich yesterday, and we are getting closer to that starting up in the Premier League, possibly in just a few weeks' time right now. So that was it. It was a big decision by the Premier League clubs today, and Arsenal, like I said, could well be putting that into place in terms of full contact training from Thursday. The gym will be open actually, but it doesn't look like, I don't think Arsenal will be actually using it. You are allowed to now use gyms as part of this. The protocols that have been put in place by the Premier League, but as far as I'm aware, Arsenal aren't going to be using the gym that they've got at London Colney, because all the players have equipment at their own homes, so they're gonna advise the players to steer away from the gym at London Colney and will be working out at home as they've been doing throughout the pandemic. Right, we'll move on to other things now. David Luiz, this is a sort of developing story, really. When David Luiz signed, we all were initially told he signed a 2-year contract at Arsenal, but it turns out that's not actually purely accurate. Luiz actually signed a 1-year deal with an option of a further 12 months. And as of today, which obviously we're towards the end of May, that Arsenal have not activated that clause, and David Luiz could well be leaving just a year after signing from Chelsea for £8 million. No, as far as I'm aware, no active decision has been made yet, and Luiz is keen to stay at Arsenal. He likes London. Obviously, he's been here from before when he was at Chelsea, and would prefer to stay for another 12 months. But Arsenal have not yet activated that clause, and he could well be leaving at the end of the season. Now, Arsenal are in real financial issues, not just for Arsenal. All the Premier League clubs have some real financial issues that they've got to try and solve over the next 12 months or so as the coronavirus pandemic continues, and the implications that means to all football clubs, possibly even the whole of next season being played behind closed doors. And when you think Arsenal, basically 24% of their revenue comes from match day revenue, that's showing just how big an impact the coronavirus is going to have. And I think with Luiz, it's a strange one because, I think although he's got a mistake in him, we've all seen that, we knew that before he arrived. I think he was good under Mikel Arteta. He's improving. He loved playing under Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta really respected David Luiz as well. Luiz has played in 14 of Arteta's 15 games so far. But he's one of the highest earners on about 125 grand a week. And, you know, an aging 33-year-old Arsenal probably looking at that now and thinking, you know, we've got to make cuts when necessary. We're desperately trying to cut the wage bill, and Arsenal are doing that. They're drastically trying to reduce the wage bill. Players have already accepted a wage cut for the next 12 months. And club-wise, I think they're probably looking at Luiz as an expendable asset. Maybe Mikel Arteta won't possibly see it that way, given his reliance on Luiz since he's arrived. But Arsenal need to make difficult decisions to try and make cuts where possible, to try and survive this next 12 months and get through them as best as they possibly can. And obviously, William Saliba is arriving from St Etienne in the summer. Excellent young centre-back. They've got Rob Holding, Socrates, Mustafi, Pablo Mari, who we expect Arsenal to sign permanently, to turn that move permanent after the initial loan deal from Flamengo. So they've got a lot of options. Callum Chambers is obviously coming back from his injury. They've got a lot of options. Socrates is the experienced head there as well. You know, for me, I'd have expected Socrates to leave this summer, even if it was a case of he's still got a year left on his contract. But I wouldn't even have been surprised if Arsenal let Socrates go for free this summer and kept David Luiz. So it has surprised me, this news, but I think it just goes to show how the issues that coronavirus pandemic is causing and the sort of decisions that clubs are going to have to make. And I'm not saying for certain that Luiz is going to leave. As far as I've been told, that decision hasn't been made yet. But the fact that no talks have taken place yet, and obviously we're at the end of May, and you think the club have done pretty much, you know, players haven't been doing anything for the last 2 months. This would have been the perfect time to extend that contract if they were going to, and they haven't just yet. Suggests that Luiz may well be on his way out, just a matter of a year after signing from Chelsea. And when you look at it financially, if that is the case, it's not been a good deal for Arsenal. Paid $8 million for a player, they're not going to get any money back for him. Paid big wages for a season, hasn't been a successful season. You know, you're looking at about probably £15 million all in all over the course of 12 months for very little return, really. So not a good business decision when you look at it in black and white when it comes to Arsenal with David Luiz. But he might stay, but certainly at the moment it's looking similar. It's looking more and more likely that David Luiz could be on his way out at the end of the season. It'll be interesting once this season does start up again and we're given the chance to speak to Mikel Arteta to get his views on it, because you know, he likes David Luiz, and David Luiz really likes playing under Arteta. So it very much feels like this is a club decision to do with the financial implications of coronavirus. Now, finally, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Coutinho. I'm sure you've seen the transfer links between Arsenal and Coutinho in the last few days. I've written a piece about it actually on Goal that's gone out today. So if you head over to goal.com and take a look at that, or go onto my Twitter feed, is at Charles_Watts, you'll see what I've written about Coutinho. And I'm just going to go over it kind of again now. You know, the links with Coutinho, for me, and I'm not saying this transfer isn't going to happen. There's obviously a possibility that something could happen in the summer. You know, there could be some sort of loan deal agreed eventually. But for me, just looking at the pure finance of the deal, and for everyone that I've spoken to when it comes to Arsenal's transfer business this summer and the financial outlook of the club at the moment, it just seems like a really unlikely deal that would happen. Barcelona are very, very keen to get Coutinho out the door. Obviously, he spent the season in Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich aren't going to take up the option to sign him on a permanent basis. I think they would have had to pay about £107 million to sign Coutinho, and he's on 240 grand a week with Barcelona. Now, Bayern Munich are far more interested in signing Leroy Sané from Manchester City. I think that's where their focus is going to be in the summer. So Coutinho is going to head back to Barcelona, where he's not wanted. They want to get him out. They don't view the signing as being a successful one. They've got, as everyone, they've got real financial issues at Barcelona, and he's on massive wages, and they would love to get him out. Obviously, he was a success in the Premier League as well, and so he would be keen to come back to England. His agent, Kia Drabchin, absolutely involved at Arsenal at the moment, very close with Raul Sanllehi and Edu. Is often in the director's box, sitting there with the Arsenal bigwigs at a game. He's the man who brought David Luiz to Arsenal. last summer. He basically did the transfer for Cedric Suarez to move on loan. So he's very influential at Arsenal now at Kia Drabchin, and he is Coutinho's agent. So it's no surprise to see the links there. I mean, Arsenal linked with Coutinho last summer before he went to Bayern Munich, but I just think you've got to lower the expectations when it comes to Arsenal. And as I said, I'm not saying this won't happen, because there is obviously an opportunity if it arises itself. Barcelona could be so desperate to get him off the wage, but they could say, do you want to? We'll just swap you Aubameyang for Coutinho. Now Arsenal don't want to lose Aubameyang with those goals, but he's 31 or 30. He's got a year left on his contract. If suddenly Barca are offering Coutinho as a straight swap, a player who, just because of his age and his contract and everything, would be worth far more than Aubameyang, maybe Arsenal will be like, oh, that sounds like a good deal. But even then, you've got to deal with the 240 grand a week, 250 grand a week wages. And when you're trying to reduce your wage bill while you're potentially letting someone like David Luiz go just to get him off the wage bill, it kind of says a lot, really, in terms of how difficult it would be for Arsenal to accommodate Coutinho and his wages. They've just asked the entire squad to take a 12.5% wage cuts for 12 months, and then you're bringing someone in who, other than Mesut Ozil, have to be the second highest earner at the club. Obviously, there is the opportunity of a loan deal, something that Bayern Munich have taken up this season with Coutinho. And Barca would probably are so willing to get him off the wage bill that they would cover some of his wages while he was at a club. But even then, I think Arsenal might even struggle with it. And Barca's preference, as far as I'm aware, talking to people over in Spain, is to get Coutinho off the book permanently this summer. Now, the market's not going to be very good for that, so it might be towards the end of the window they have to accept a loan deal. But I just think I'd be surprised. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'd just say I'd be surprised, given what I've heard ahead of the summer and the financial issues that Arsenal are having to try and deal with. I think you've got to lower expectations during the transfer market this summer. So I'd be surprised if Coutinho signed. Look, I've already been bombarded on messages and Twitter today that if it does happen, I'm sure all the screen grabs are going to come out of what I've said today, and you can play this back to me and throw it back in my face. Because look, I'd be delighted to have Coutinho at Arsenal. I think he's a great player. I think he's really suited to England. He's shown that. I think he'd score goals from a number 10 position, certainly more than Mesut Ozil currently scores at the moment. And he's a good player, so I'd love him at Arsenal. But I'd be very, very surprised. I think for me, the Arsenal's transfer priorities, people that I've spoken to, again, centre-back, box-to-box midfielder, a right-back, possibly Cedric Suarez, we don't know. They're the priority areas for Arsenal. And if Aubameyang does go, bringing in another central striker. But in terms of that playmaker role, not a position that I'm aware of that is viewed as a priority for Arsenal this summer, which is why I'd be very surprised, given all of that and the financial issues, that if Coutinho joined. But let's wait and see. I mean, we're still way off. We don't even know when the transfer window is going to be yet. But pretty much that's it for this video. Not as long as the last one, just a bit of a short, sharp update. As I said at the beginning, thank you very much for taking your time to watch these videos, and I will be back to do another Q&A. I know they're pretty popular, so I will come back and do another one probably next week at some point. If you look out on my Twitter, as I said, which is at Charles_Watts, I'll put a question out or put a tweet out asking you for your questions or comments. And if you want to join in the Q&A, please do reply to that tweet, and I will go through them all next time I do one of these videos. So everyone, thank you very much. Enjoy the sunshine as best you can at the moment, and stay safe.